So it's been 5 years since I started my photography journey, which makes me one of those dreaded pandemic shooters who made cameras super expensive and film impossible to find. I apologize for my role in that. It was a pandemic, it was a wacky, wacky time. I've been looking at my photos over the last few years and reflecting on my journey to this point, and there are things that I wish I had done differently. There's advice I would give, and there's some things, I think I just did right in the course of those 5 years. And I thought it might be helpful for folks who are starting their photography journey or considering even getting their first camera or pick up their cell phone and giving photography a shot. This is not going to be an overly technical conversation. I'm not going to talk about the exposure triangle. I'm not going to talk about composition or, Lightroom or any of those things. This is more a conversation about getting started and setting yourself up to stick with this for a period of time. Even 5 years in, I'm very young in my photography journey, even if I'm not young as a human. Hopefully, whatever advice I have will help somebody who is setting out their photography journey and set them on a good and solid platform so they stick with it for the long haul. So I guess the first conversation starts with gear. Everybody, two quick PSAs before we get started with the video. One, this is my third attempt at getting this video done. The first time I used one of my old manual vintage lenses and half the video ended up being out of focus. The second attempt, my camera's battery died halfway through. So this is going to be a quick and dirty run. The second thing is I am going to be showing some of my photography on this video, which is something I realized I haven't done since I started the channel. And given the topic of this video, it only makes sense that I do so. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Peace. So the first part of this conversation we have to get out the way is gear. That's probably the biggest concern for new photographers. What camera should I get? What lens should I get? What should my budget be? And as much as some folks like to say gear doesn't matter, it absolutely does. Honestly, the folks who say gear doesn't matter tend to have, $10, $15, $20,000 worth of gear. But I also get why they say it. If you ever had somebody tell you that your camera takes great photos, it hits in a certain space because it removes your skill and your artistry out of it. And I think you find yourself having to justify that more with the more expensive gear that you have. All that said, the best advice I can give is if you're looking to buy your first dedicated camera, make sure it's as good as, if not better than your cell phone. In 2025, the leap from a decent cell phone like my iPhone 16 Pro to a entry-level mirrorless camera, DSLR, whatever you want to get, isn't as wide a gap as it used to be. If you are not sure that you really want to get into photography and that you're afraid of the expense, which I totally understand, work with your phone. Some of my best shots have been taken with a cell phone. Last year, I sold a photo to a magazine that I shot on my iPhone. I didn't tell the client that, but there you go. You can do pretty much anything you want with your cell phone. If you want to take portraits, you want to do landscapes, street photography, all those things are viable avenues with your cell phone. Don't feel that to be taken seriously or to be an actual photographer, you have to get a mirrorless camera or some sort of dedicated camera. I run a meetup group in my town for photographers, and the barrier to entry is just that you're interested in photography. I don't care that you're using your cell phone to take photos. I don't want to gatekeep in that way. And a lot of times people are buying cameras because of the gatekeeping that goes on within the photography community, where you're not a real photographer if you're just shooting on your cell phone. I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Don't buy anything until it's time for you to buy something. All that said, there's a wide array of options out there. Take your time to figure it out. Sometimes you are going to overspend, but at least buy something of value so you can sell it back. I see a lot of folks trying to do this on the cheap and getting cameras and stuff from the TikTok shop or from Instagram. And not only are they bad, you can't resell them. You can't resell a $50 camera to get anything out of it. It's worthless. If you're going to make the leap, within your means, within your budget, purchase something with some resale value, preferably used. I love MPB for that. They're not sponsoring this video. I wish that they would. Hi, guys. But again, just Be mindful of your purchases. Don't overspend. And don't feel like you have to spend it all if you're not ready to. I think that makes sense. Let's get off of gear now. This is a tiring subject for me. One of the things I wish I'd done more of since I started in photography was take pictures of myself. One of the things that inevitably happens when you become the photography person in your friends and family circle is they expect you to have your camera at, gatherings and parties and wherever the case may be. Number one, don't fall into that trap. But you're also going to fall into that trap. And the thing that happens with that is because you're behind the camera, you're not present. You're not documented in these things. You don't become part of the history of your family or friends about that time that you went to so-and-so's birthday party. And it's kind of a drag. So number one, in that case, in that section of things, sometimes leave your camera at home. Let folks, take pictures with their cell phones. Take pictures of your cell phone. Take selfies. As much as we sometimes think that selfies are self-absorbed and whatever else, they're also a nice way of documenting your presence in your friends and family's lives. The other reason that I wish I'd taken more photos of myself is because as a photographer, you're documenting the world around you, and we tend to forget that we are part of the world around us. There's something nice to seeing how you've transitioned over your years and how you've moved in the world, how your style has changed, how your appearance has changed. I have some of those photos, but not as many as I would like to, just because, again, I'm so very much used to pointing the camera out into the world. The third and most salient reason to take more photos of yourself is that you are your own best model. If you're looking to shoot street or portraits or anything that involves humans in general, you should practice on yourself to figure out what poses work, what composition works, what lighting works. It's much harder when you bring in a model or ask somebody to volunteer to shoot them instead, because now you're involving their time. And if you're in a space where you're just practicing, they may be considerate of it and they may be willing to stick around, but they won't be as available as you are right now. Practice your lighting, especially if you've bought some soft dishes and octoboxes and some, amaranths, and, if you invested in good lighting and backdrops and all those things. Sit in front of the camera. It's going to go a long way to helping you figure out the best way to shoot other folks. So one of the things I do wish I had done differently, What kind of phrase is that? My goodness. So one of the things I wish I had done differently when I started out was think more in terms of projects as opposed to one-off shots. When you're a new photographer, everything is about being able to nail focus and get the exposure right and take pictures of random objects and people that just happen to interest you. And what happens is those photos tend to be really disjointed. One photo doesn't lead into another. There's no story being told. I recently had one of my photos in a gallery showing a few months back, and we had the opportunity to have up to 3 photos in the showing. I submitted 3 photos. One was of a cheerleader at practice. Another was of a homeless man that I had a great conversation with who actually asked me to take his photo. There's a whole other conversation to be had about shooting people in distress and the ethics of that, which we can have another day. And the third photo I can't even actually remember, which is probably telling. And the issue is those 3 photos didn't tell a story. The cheerleader ended up getting in, but I really think that if I had something that was more narratively driven, something that was more cohesive, I might have got 2 or 3 pieces into that gallery showing. Even now, as I look at, wanting to work on a separate project, incorporating my photography the last few years, I'm having a hard time finding a through line to make it all cohesive and make sense because I want to tell a story with my photos. And I really can't because I didn't set myself up to have that story and that narrative to tell. I'm a big proponent of even just like daily challenges. You'll see them, there's accounts on Instagram, there's, even little books you can get that says, go shoot this today, go shoot empty park benches, go shoot trash cans, go shoot flowers. Getting that mindset of I'm going to go out and shoot X today, or I'm going to shoot this particular plan so I can tell this story, I think will go a long way in your photography and even help you figure out what your niche is, what your style is, because that's the next question everybody has is, how do I figure out my style? All that comes down the line. But being very thoughtful with what you're going to shoot and with having a plan of what you want to shoot for even, again, a day or a week or a month will really help with that process. So I understand that this next bit of advice may come with some privilege, but as much as possible, especially in the beginning, avoid monetizing your photography. Unless you're looking to get into commercial photography or wedding photography, or you're trying to pursue this sort of career path, great, in which case I suggest you apprentice with somebody and learn the ropes. When you get into this, inevitably somebody's going to have a birthday party, or God forbid, an actual wedding or some other event that they say, hey, we'd love to have you shoot this, because they're a friend or an acquaintance or whatever. And there's two issues with this. One, you're going to make $100, you're going to make $200, you're going to make some pittance. And two, you're probably not prepared in terms of experience, in terms of equipment and all the other things to do this thing properly. So you're getting underpaid and you're building a bad reputation for yourself, because somebody's going to feel bad about how their pictures turned out, despite the fact that they paid somebody brand new, a couple $100 to do it. More importantly, at least for me, I feel like when you start putting money on things, it takes some of the joy and some of the life out of it. If you're getting into this as a hobby, if you're getting into this just as another form of creativity, when you take on a client, it's no longer really your creativity. You're conforming to what the client wants, especially in a space where you are kind of bouncing off the walls and trying radically different things because you're trying to figure out what kind of photographer you are. I don't know if I like to shoot street. I don't know if I want to do black and white. I don't know if I like a wide angle lens versus a telephoto lens versus primes versus zooms. There are a lot of things that you are discovering as you begin your journey about the technical side as well as yourself as an artist. Taking on clients will stifle that pursuit and stifle that path. Now, over the 5 years that I've been shooting, I've sold a couple photos to some small magazines, actually one national publication. I've been in a gallery. I've sold prints. I have a couple clients I do shoot for here and there, but it wasn't the goal of getting into this, at least not initially. It's probably 2 or 3 years before I thought to sell anything or do an event or anything like that at all. And again, if you need to make money, do what you have to do to make money. But if you can avoid taking this photography thing and immediately turning it into how to make a profit, I think you'd be better off in the long run, even when it comes time to actually make that profit. So the last bit of advice I think I can give is to focus on making in real life community. Find photographers in the area that you can go on photo walks with and have conversations with about, just the craft in general. Instagram is great for quick tips and maybe bits of inspiration. Honestly, most of what I learned about photography, I learned from YouTube, but nothing beats building a community of folks that you can reach out to and talk to about whatever it is that you have on your mind, and going and just being around people. Photography can be a very lonely existence if you've let it, but the number of folks who are out here with vast arrays of experience, personal and within photography itself, it's super, super dope. And it's worth making a friend. I don't make friends very well, so what I did was created a Facebook group for local photographers. We have over 100 something members now, and it was a very easy way for me to have folks gravitate towards me, selfishly, to learn about photography from them and have these great conversations, because I'm not the most outgoing of people, if you can't tell, all this high energy that y'all get from me on these videos. But yeah, get out into town, meet some folks, touch grass, and, grow your community. I hope all this was helpful. I'm about to go get me some coffee. Y'all shoot, be well, do all the wonderful things. Peace.